So today's episode is brought to you by JumboMax. We're going to take some time to sit down with John from JumboMax and trying to figure out, where's good golf live? How big should our grips be? And why are some of the best players in the world choosing bigger grips than just a standard size? Feel free to visit JumboMax's website, type in promo code Foreward, save yourself 10%.
Money, perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chad Dees with Foreward Golf, home of the Tiger Strike. And we're here today with John Mazzanoble, the founder and president of JumboMax. And I wanted to bring him on the show. We've got a lot to talk about. Again, we're trying to figure out where good golf lives. So John, welcome to the show.
All right.
We just spent a little time together in the hitting bay. We were fitting our buddy Alex. So John got to kind of sit on that. And what were your initial thoughts on that little fitting process that you saw?
I don't think it was little. It's pretty in-depth. Even though it didn't take a lot of time, I thought you really covered a lot of bases that a lot of people don't talk about or even think about when they're doing fittings. Probably the most unique fitting I've seen to date. Very impressive.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So as you guys very well know, is we are trying to isolate the 8 variables that go into a golf club because we're trying to see what moves the needle for certain players and what doesn't. The industry tells us that there are all kinds of things to worry about. Things such as swing weight, total weight, length, grip size. And what we want to do is we want to make sense of it all. So where you really come into play and what we find to be one of the most valid tests in our entire process is grip size. And JumboMax is kind of the pioneer, if you will, of making grips far bigger than we've ever seen.
Yeah. We're probably the craziest company in the industry. We decided to make grips really big, and I think the thing that led us down this path is if you look in your sports closet or in your garage and you look for the tools that you're going to use to go work in the yard, or you're going to go out and play some tennis or, badminton, ping pong, hockey, you pretty much can look at any other sport, fishing, and they all have bigger diameter handles.
Interesting. Yeah.
And the reason that is because you have more control with less tension. You don't have to squeeze the club as hard. I think golf was invented 500 years ago, and we wrapped leather around a hickory stick and decided, hey, let's go. This is great.
Well, it does make me ask the question, how long has standard been standard? Why did we come up with that size of a grip to be called standard? And how long did it take before someone challenged it? And finally, it seems like JumboMax is here to kind of challenge the status quo, if you will, because I don't think there was a lot of data 200 years ago to tell us that this is the size we needed. Maybe Varden ended up playing a pretty thin grip, and people saw him win the Open a few years in a row and said, hey, that must be standard. But it's interesting that you say that because, like a hammer is a bit thicker, but the fishing pole, like you said, that's even thicker.
Sure.
There's actually not a things I can think of right off the top of my head that may be thinner than a standard-sized golf club.
I don't think there's anything out there. We've been trying to think about it for a long time, and if you were going to take like just a grass cutter, a handheld grass cutter, and you had a real skinny handle on it like a golf grip, you really wouldn't have the leverage to get through the grass. You'd probably hurt your wrist.
Right.
But if you put a bigger grip like Bryson plays on, a JumboMax, you got a lot more control. You don't have to work as hard, and you have a lot of leverage. So you're able to really get through the grass. And if you notice, Bryson's won 2 U.S. Opens. No coincidence that it's got really high rough in the U.S. Open. He's getting through that rough probably better than anybody. And
that makes sense.
You really have a lot of leverage. So if you can translate that into face control, then you're onto something. And what we found through technology, thank God for technology, because people thought we were crazy when we came out with big grips. They weren't supposed to work. You're supposed to hit it dead right. There was all these falsehoods about big grips. What we found was it actually slows the closure rate of the face down. So if you're a hooker, come see us because we're going to fix the hook. And basically, this is developed into kind of your game, fitting. You know, nobody's ever fit for grips, and basically, there's been 1 or 2 sizes of grips. You can either play a standard grip, a standard oversized. Now they've created a jumbo grip. We still don't think that's big enough. We have those sizes, by the way. We have 11 different sizes, and we have 40 different variables. So you can have different size and different weight grips. Very rarely will somebody fit into a smaller diameter grip. They might fit into a 35-gram grip. They might fit into a 123-gram grip. So weight is also a variable, and I know you guys have gone down that road of weight.
Well, we're trying to test for everything, and I think that's one of the interesting things about grip is because grips come in different sizes and different weights, it can kind of conflict with what we've been taught at least what the industry's taught us about a thing called swing weight.
Oh, the old swing weight. I love that.
You know, swing weight is I think way back in the day, I think it may have been a cool measurement to try to figure out where good golf lives. But inherently, it's kind of a terrible measurement because everything influences it. Your grip size influences it. The length of the club influences it. The lie angle influences it. So it's like you kind of almost got to sacrifice these other things just to accommodate for swing weight. And it's like, well, how much is swing weight really playing a role into the physics?
It doesn't. And I think if you get to the point where robots are playing golf and everybody's swinging it the exact same way with the exact same sequences and delivery patterns and all these things, then you might be able to say D2 is the optimum weight.
Correct.
Until there's a robot swinging every swing the same exact way, I don't think you can say D2 is the right weight, because I've seen and you've seen people play great golf at C5 and also play great golf at E7.
Right.
I mean, it's all about where good golf lives. It's not about a swing weight and that we all have to fit into this box.
No.
So as you guys are doing, as we're doing, we're trying to get people out of the box a little bit. Come get fit for grips. I mean,
yes.
Come get fit, because we've developed an intuitive fitting app. If you go to JumboMax or go on Apple, download the JumboMax fitting app. It'll recommend a grip size for you, and I can guarantee you one thing: it's not going to be a skinny grip.
It's going to be a great place to start, at least. It's going to create a nice baseline. I just watched you guys. You guys did it on me. It's a really cool app. You kind of put your hand up to it. It gives you a measurement, asks you a couple questions, and based on that, it's going to give you a baseline of where you should kind of start your little journey. And that's what golf's about, is if we can create baselines and let people kind of dabble around the baseline, nothing's definitive.
Right.
But we need to be definitive about what you shouldn't be using. And I think that's what a baseline inherently is trying to do.
100%. Now that we have technology like Flight Scope out there and different ways to measure your speed and your spin rates and your swing access and your launch angles, we can fit you with the proper grip to optimize all of those things. And that's kind of cool, because no grip swings the same. So when we go through our fittings, every grip is going to produce a different variable. Yes. And all we're trying to do is reduce the variables and give you the most optimum, most efficient grip to swing the club with. Then we let experts like you take over, find the right shaft, find the right head, and then, yes, eventually find the right swing weight for the individual.
Well, what you said makes a lot of sense to me, because, if I could have it my way in a perfect process, the first two things that I would want to fit for are lie angle and grip size, because they're the two biggest influencers on how that face is going to arrive and match up to that path. So in a perfect world, you would want to test, maybe 10 different grip sizes, starting from very, very small or very, very big, however you want to start. Right. I'd probably start off small, because most people are more used to that, and slowly get it to where, again, it's so big that I'd like to see diminishing return. I want to know what's too small. I want to know what's too big. I want to eliminate them and see how we can piece this together. Because you know what? Being comfortable does matter to a degree. I want performance, but if I can get a little bit of performance and keep you comfortable, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's what we're looking for.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, if you don't go to the extremes, then how do you know where the diminished return is? You might just keep getting bigger the bigger you go. Working with Bryson over all these years, and, we've started back in when Bryson was 15 years old, and, we really developed the relationship. And one of the things that Bryson always stresses when we try to find the right grip, or whether it's shaft fitting, whatever it is, he's reducing variables. That's all he's about. He's trying to find out what isn't going to work. And then once you figure out what doesn't work for him, then you can really dial in on what works the best.
Yep.
So when you're working on a grip, you go lightest, smallest first. And most people are playing standard grips. So you want a baseline. You want a baseline, okay, here's what we're doing now. How do we know that we're going to improve? Well, here's your baseline. This is what you're doing. We're going to go from there to the fitting app. We're going to get the recommended grip. It could say it's a medium. We're going to put the medium on, and we're going to look for improvement. If we don't see improvement, that grip's out. We're going to go, at that point, we're going to go as big as we can. Again, if we don't see improvement, that grip's out. Then we'll go back down and we'll start dialing into the smaller sizes. But that's rare. Typically, once we do the grip fitting app and we get a standard with a regular grip and a baseline number, we always start seeing incremental improvements until we land on the right size grip. Now, once we've landed on the right size grip, the work's not done because of the counterweight balance. Right. people are not talking and they're missing the boat on counterweight balancing. And I'm certain of it. And the reason I'm certain of it is because I've been doing these fittings for 15 years now.
Yep.
And very rarely do I fit people in the lightweight stuff. As a matter of fact, most of the championships we've won, and we've won U.S. Opens, we've won U.S. Amateurs, we've won World Long Drive Championships, we've won PGA Club Pro Championships. We just won the Western. Ian Gilligan just had a great tournament.
What a player.
That was something to watch. And, the common denominator is people are starting to go heavier in counterweight balance their grips.
Well, what I find super interesting, again, today is the first day that we've ever met. So you've been doing your research where you're at, and I've been here in my little rabbit hole doing my research here. But what's very interesting is some of these things that you're talking about right now are things that I have absolutely see coincide with this variable test that I've created. I'm noticing more people getting fit into counterbalance, into that C6, low C range.
Right on.
Which, kind of scares people, but the data don't lie. And then the grip size alone and how much it's really moving the needle as far as the overall ball flight's concerned. So interestingly enough, it's almost giving like more validation to what I've seen just listening to you talk about it, because we're coming to the same conclusion. We haven't really been around each other.
We haven't gotten to talk shop and talk about, golf geeks and get into all the different variables and, to sit here and have kind of the same language. I mean, we're talking the same thing here, and it's just based on testing and our experiences in the lab. I mean, this is not about feel, okay? So one thing I'll tell you about feel and JumboMax is I challenge anybody that has tried JumboMax or that wants to try JumboMax to go out and play 18 holes with a JumboMax and see how quick you adapt to the feel. When you're playing your best golf, you adapt very quickly to these feels, so-called feels. And I understand feels. I mean, I get them. They're important. But if you want to maintain feel at the detriment of better golf, then, that's not what we're about. We're about helping golfers play their best golf. And, if somebody has pain in their hands, we're about making their hands feel better.
Correct.
If somebody has yips with their wedges, we're about helping them get rid of the yips. So we can solve problems with different size grips, different weight grips. What's your flavor? What are you trying to do with your golf game? We can go spend millions on lessons and these elaborate fittings that are kind of random. They ask you what your favorite club is. Hey, try this. You love a Titleist. Here's our newest Titleist. You need a stiff shaft, and what color grip do you like? Yeah. That's kind of where we're at in today's fitting world.
Absolutely.
So I think more needs to be done and more needs to be explored.
Yeah, it seems like kind of the revolution is upon us, where, we're going to continue to push this status quo and see where it kind of breaks and budges, and see what we can really gain from it. Because, again, working with guys like Bryson, there's plenty of guys out there who want nothing more than to create a legacy or just to go out and win major championships. And they're looking for an eighth of a shot here. I mean, an eighth of a shot on the PGA Tour in that FedEx Cup. I mean, what does that really equal? It's a ton, right? Yeah. And if you can convince guys that, you're going to have this slight edge to, again, a lot of it's mismanagement. If you tend to miss a little to the left or a little to the right, and we can find a grip or a counterbalance or something that just eliminates that one kind of Achilles tendon that you have on the golf course, I mean, that guy's going to feel confident that he can go out there and win. I mean, they're all this close. They're all this close to winning.
And they're all good enough to win. It's just that little edge that they might need. And we're finding that we're able to kind of affect that with size and weight of the grip. And that's really cool, because this is something we learned over trial and error and years and real-time experiences. And
so what was the first thing that sparked it? Like, so again, like you've been working with Bryson since he was little. Was JumboMax a thing before you even started working with Bryson?
It kind of coincided. Bryson was just a kid when he started with us. It was really his teacher, mentor, Mike Shy, who I had done our first event in Vegas. It was 2009. And Mike, if nobody knows Mike Shy, is a pretty big guy. Yeah. So I looked at him walking up to the range. I said, we got to get this big guy to hit the big grip, and see what he thinks about it. Well, turns out that he was a proponent of bigger grips and biometrically, he understood what they would do. So he was kind of way ahead of the curve. And he said, I'd love to take some back and experiment at the tent. And at that time, I didn't know what the tent was, but that's where him and Bryson kind of concocted his swing and did all the drills and got on the swing. What is the robot?
Yeah.
They've done so many different things
crazy.
together.
Yep.
Cool things that were so far out of the box, and JumboMax happened to be one of them. Bryson picked up the grips, and immediately Bryson was having a little bit of a where he would lose the grip at the top of the swing slightly, where he reset maybe.
Yeah, I've seen that.
A re-grip a little bit, And immediately when he picked up the JumboMax XL, he did not have that issue, and his swing was just that much a little bit
there's a
better.
variable that you cannot control. If you're re-gripping it at any point, you see a lot of guys doing that even before they take the club back, but if you're doing it at the top of your swing, plus or minus a couple degrees,
you're changing the face rotate. Yeah, you're changing the way the face, is going to come into the ball. So that was huge. He went out and played 3 practice rounds, Mike said, shot 2 58s and a 59 from the red tees.
Wow.
So pretty cool, because he used to go up there, as a scoring drill, to go up to the front tee and play, see how low he could go, which was really another revolutionary thing. You're starting to see more people do that. But I got the call from Mike saying, yeah, I think this junior that we have, he's a pretty good player. I think he's going to put him in play. I said, oh, great. Our first big, win. We've got a crack shot junior, a 15-year-old. So, hard to get too crazy about that. But as you watched him develop, and I saw him playing in the NCAAs, and I hustled my butt out there, and sure enough, he was able to win the NCAAs. And he's like, hey, man, U.S. Amateur's coming up. Why don't you come out to Chicago? And, I said, hey, yeah, awesome. We'll come out there. And we had signed up for a salmon fishing tournament. You can do some pretty good fishing off Lake Michigan. So we got out there, and he did pretty good and made the match play, and we were pretty excited about that. Then he made the round of 16, and it was just going really well. And we're like, hey, bud, we'll be back for the fishing tournament. He goes, Are you really leaving? And we're like, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, if you win. And why don't you hang out? Just be kind of snowballed into, I'm like, hey, man, I'll be a rabbit's foot. I'll hang out. This is fun. So he went on and just played. I don't know if anybody's played better golf in a U.S. Amateur. He just mowed the field down that week. And next thing you know, we're out on tour, and, his journey's beginning out on tour. And, here we are, and he's won the U.S. Open twice, and I think his best golf's in front of him.
I do too. I think it's one thing to get your product into PGA Tour players' hands and have them have success with it, but to start somebody off at age 15 and watch it just really develop that whole way, that's got to be super rewarding, because I think there's a difference. I think working with someone from the very beginning and watching that flower blossom is far greater than picking some guy up who's already got the credentials to be there.
I don't know that JumboMax would be where they're at without Mike Shine and Bryson.
You almost could say the same thing. We never know what it would have played out as. Who's to say that JumboMax didn't have a pivotal role in his way of getting there too?
Yeah, definitely.
Seems like they were on the lines of bigger grips, but it's just the partnership.
It's again goes back to a guy that's willing to push the boundaries, to your point. A guy that's willing to do what other people think are crazy. Like, this isn't going to work. This is a hoax. This is this. This is that. You got to be willing to take those chances. And what we found was a lot of the tour guys, they've gotten their success doing it the way they've done it, and they're the best at the world at it. So why should they try? Whereas Bryson had the attitude of, I'm never going to stop trying. I'm always going to develop and figure out what's best. And what's best for the game. It's not just best for him. If he can introduce these type of technologies that people are going to use for years and years to come. It's definitely something that's going to change the game forever, and he's the pioneer of it. He's the guy that put it on the map.
Well, I definitely think experimenting with things such as grip sizes and shaft weights and kick points or whatever these variables that we're trying to measure, that's far less dangerous than trying to mess with your golf swing. You start messing with your golf swing too long, pretty soon you're too far away from what you started with that you can't even get back. And the thing that I've really started to develop a knack for, or a belief in, is the guy who can repeat his motion the most often is probably going to have the best chance of playing the best golf. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm, I think, are pretty good examples of kind of unorthodox swings that are done at a very high rate of efficiency and repeatability. I noticed this in the bowling alley, actually. I draw a lot of my parallels there, but you don't have to look like a professional bowler to bowl a 300. You can waddle up there slow, throw it sidearm, but if you can hit the same board at the same access point, you can knock those pins over 12 times in a row. And that's what really made me realize, like, it's not necessarily the technique or the power of the player, it's the repeatability of that player to know where that ball is going to end up before we hit the shot. And if a grip change increases the ability to do that, that's easier than getting more depth in the backswing and getting a bigger pivot. That's hard to do.
That's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to put the club in different positions. I mean, you have to swing. You have to be an athlete. So as you're trying to process these things, you're also trying to swing the golf club. So processing and swinging the golf club are very hard to do at the same time. I don't know very many people that can execute that at a high level.
And this is where we have found so much validity in the Foreward Golf remote fitting kit, or if you come out to California, is we're basically telling the player, get warmed up, swing your swing. We don't let them see the ball flight. We don't let them see anything. Once they're warmed up, we're basically telling them your swing is either very consistent or not consistent. What's crazy for you guys is you guys are way more consistent than you think you are, and we can prove it. So we prove the consistency of the player, and then we basically say we're going to sit here and marry a club up to it. You just keep swinging your way. And not letting them see the ball flight gives us a chance to do that. If they see the ball missing left with the upright club, they try to switch.
Right.
It's not what we're here for. We do not want to be a byproduct of our last result. So we are actually trying to say, swing your swing. Let us partner up a grip, a length, a flex, a swing weight, all these things, so that at that moment of truth, that face is slightly open to path and we give you a cut because you're slightly out to in. Because if you guys can master your swing, I believe that's where your best golf lives. And I believe the easiest way to do it is to manipulate the variables of the golf club first so that you can get the best result when you produce what you tend to do.
The consistency of your swing. And that's the key. It's your swing. And all of them are different. All of us do things differently. Some of us are self-taught. Some of us have had, thousands of hours of lessons. We're all at different levels in how we learn the game. But guess what? We're all different. Our hand size is different. Our body shapes are different. My back hurts. Your back's great. My neck, is terrible. Everybody has different variables. So why not find and fit the equipment to your variables?
Correct. Well, every human, from what I've seen in our testing, every human reacts to the variables differently. I'm 5'11". You could be 5'11". I'm left-handed, you could be left-handed, but that doesn't mean we're going to subconsciously respond to that JumboMax extra large grip the same. No chance in hell for any of the variables. So a lot of people are asking what are similarly pretty simple questions. They go, Chad, how would a heavier weight club affect me? It's like such a simple question, and I sit there and I'm like, I don't know how to answer this for the guy. I don't want to feel like I can't, hey, I don't know the answer. But the reality is I don't know the answer because I've watched a weight test flip itself on his back so many times. I don't even know where to, I'm like, you're better off coming in and getting tested. So that's kind of what we're left with is, I know JumboMax is going to be making like a fitting kit or certifying fitters to where somewhere near you, you're going to be able to go through kind of a standardized grip size test. I would advise you to do it and not necessarily ask your buddy what happened to them because that's irrelevant.
Right.
It's totally irrelevant. So that's kind of the position that we put ourselves in. It's like, if you want to get a proper prescription, the best thing that you could do is just order the fitting kit, run through it yourself. All the shafts are blacked out so you can't get in your own way. And just let the data be presented. And, we hope you follow it. But that's been one of the most interesting things. You lead the horse to water and 80% of them drink it and some of them don't.
And what I like about what you do is there's no bias in it. You go to these fitting centers and there's bias. They're selling, their job is to sell an OEM golf club.
Yep.
And usually it's of the player's choice, not performance.
Correct.
How often do you go into fitting and you try all the different heads? You'd be there for weeks trying to get through all the variables. Where what you've done is consolidated into an easy-to-use package that's in an intimate setting. There's no pressure. There's no sale going on here. All we're looking for is optimum performance.
Yep.
And we love that.
Absolutely.
And we love that. That's what we're about.
Well, we truly believe that's where good golf lives, and that's kind of our mission statement. Anything that Anything that doesn't add up to that's where good golf lives, Forward Golf stays away from it. Things that we believe have validity and where good golf lives, we go toward it. And we believe with the resources that we have that this is our best foot forward to figuring out where good golf lives. And it's just the beginning, guys. Controlling these variables is just the beginning of a baseline to where we can all really start to learn from. Who knows what can be learned in the next 5 years when you have something that you're actually measuring and systematically saying, oh, wow, the swing weight really affected. Oh, wow, look at that grip is really causing a big difference. And once you can do that, you can start to piece together these like mutant clubs that are just phenomenal for
and
the player.
you know, I could see where a player would have different sets of clubs for different conditions. I mean, you live in Texas and you're playing on hard pan, you might need something, you know, with a little extra bounce. If you live in somewhere where it's a little you know, wet, you know, you might, to your point, need something with the, you know, more or less bounce depending on conditions. So that's, I mean, are people doing that?
No.
I mean,
not yet,
should
not
they be?
really.
We've been talking about that for years. It's like, wait a minute, you know, you're playing a high altitude, you need a high ball, different launch angles. You need to be able to hit it, you know, maybe a little fade at this golf course.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Grip diameter can affect your swing,
100%.
your spin axis.
I've seen it too many times.
It's the easiest thing to do.
It is.
I can change swing axis. I got 11 different size diameter grips and different weights in the grips. So inevitably, we're going to find a grip that is going to fit what you're trying to do with the golf ball without messing around with swing and things. Then when you add all the different components into the clubs and shafts that you're adding in, player's going to walk out of there with the perfect fit for their game.
How much can you do their ball flight without changing their swing? That's my interest. My point of interest is look how much I can change your ball flight, and we haven't changed you at all, at least consciously.
Right.
Subconsciously, you might be swinging it a little bit different because it's flatter, but I haven't really dipped into your conscious. And if I haven't dipped into your conscious, I think you're still athletic.
1,000%.
Cannot strip a guy away from his athleticism.
Yeah, you're not putting it. There's not one swing thought. You don't even know what shaft you're hitting.
Nope.
So, you know, you don't.
That's the best part.
And the beauty of it is with us, nobody asks what the grip weighs. Right. You just put them on there and one guy will go, oh, this feels lighter. Well, guess what? The overall club is heavier.
Yes.
All we've done is move the balance point up the shaft because your sequencing requires that. You're a better swinger with a more balanced club, say like a fishing pole. If you don't have any weight in the handle, maybe you need some lag. It's like an axe or a sledgehammer. You take it back, the head's going to want to stay back a little bit longer. That changes the sequencing, which may adapt perfectly for a certain player.
Absolutely.
Whereas somebody needs the club more out in front of them. Well, let's add some weight to the handle. The club and the handle are going to move more together at that point. You're going to be able to stop the grip quicker, whereas a lighter grip, you might drag it through the hitting zone a little more if you're stronger and that's the way you swing. So we can make these adjustments to get the optimum grip. With what you're doing, you're taking it to another level as far as fitting going. You're taking different flex points in the shaft and changing it. It might be stiff in the handle. It might be stiff at the bottom. It might be more of a middle, stiffness. You're putting the grip into it. You're putting bounce into it. You know,
and
you're
everything,
putting lie angles into. I mean, all the variables that matter, you're putting into the fitting. And you're taking out the guesswork.
As long as we're getting the Tiger Strike, and you guys all know what the Tiger Strike is. If we're getting the ball to hit the bottom groove and the earth is not influencing the face until the ball is well off of it, if we can manage the Tiger Strike, then all it is face to path. Right. So the combination of those 8 variables that gives you the highest percent of Tiger Strikes while balancing the face to path is the most forgiving golf club for you. Forgiveness is the most area that will still present a good result. In bowling, we call that giving a guy, you got the whole lane to work with. We got room. The more room I give you to access a good result is forgiveness. And all of those features all added up is what kind of creates that. And that's how we're writing our prescriptions. We say this combination will yield the highest percentage of Tiger Strikes and keep that face to path where it needs to be. We all can put bad swings on it. But what I don't want people to do is put a good pass on it and have a bad result. Because that calls for an adjustment. And we're trying to negate that as much as possible.
It's a vicious cycle because as soon as you start
is.
getting the bad strikes, now you're wondering what's going on. You're
Yep.
going to your pro, trying to figure out. You're in a bad mood. It creates a ripple effect. So
Absolutely.
getting your equipment right makes a better life. I mean, it makes you happier. I mean, golf makes you happy when you play good, right?
Well, that's all I'm after. I mean, again, it doesn't happen often.
Right.
A personal best doesn't happen often, but for all you guys who have shot one better than your best ever, how do you guys feel on your way home? It's like the best
Sky
feeling in the
high.
world, man. I promise
Yeah.
you this, you're teeing it up tomorrow.
Dang straight.
And, I mean, and then the world comes crashing down because you shot 6 worse and you don't know how. You thought you had arrived and you didn't. But that's what's beautiful about golf is those one small moments, dude, are worth a lot to me.
I think the most rewarding part about what we've been doing is the people that write in. And the people that write in, it's not, hey, I love the grips. It's, hey, I just shot my personal best round. I just won my club championship. I just drove the ball 40 yards further than I ever drove a ball. I mean, these are the things that people are writing in about. And it's, I haven't played golf for 2 years because I got bad arthritis. I haven't been able to grip a golf club. Now I'm able to play and my hands aren't hurt. You know, these are the things that
Keeping people in the game. There's nothing better than keeping people into the game.
Yeah. And you know, seeing them achieve some success.
Yep.
Because golf's a tough game. And if you're not achieving success or seeing growth, it'll beat you down. It'll beat you down to where, you know, you'll hang up your clubs at some point.
Yep. And that's not the goal.
No.
The goal is if we can refrain from hanging them up, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we do our due diligence in the clubs and we have all the chips stacked in your favor, there's a good chance you'll be playing golf until the day that you die. And that's what you should be doing because it's the best game. You can play it forever. And, you know, you don't want to go to war with 2 arms tied behind your back.
Too many people are sabotaging their game with the wrong equipment, the wrong heads, shafts, and especially grips. Grips, you know, have been skinny for so long, and when you go to a bigger grip and you go back and you grab a skinny handle, you really realize what you've been trying to do for all these years. It's such a dramatic difference from, say, a small JumboMax to a standard golf grip.
Well, you know, and that would be my advice to anybody watching the podcast today is, you know, is your guys' app available to the public yet? Or
yeah, please, JumboMax.
You guys need to go on that. And, you know, it's not like you need to buy a full set of grips, right? You can buy just one.
Try one.
Throw it on a 7-iron. Go with the recommendation, throw it on a 7-iron. But the key is this. Give it a chance. And I think that's the biggest thing. So I just threw an XL on my wedge. And I'll tell you how I came to this. So I was in here the other day. My back's been a little tight, but I was here warming up, hitting balls. And I felt like I was swinging it pretty good. And I hit 2 shots, full tiger strikes. And I'm like, that's going to be a perfect little fade. And the ball's like just drawing on me a little bit. Just a little bit of a pull draw. I'm like, okay, hit a couple more, hit another one. That one's perfect. It's kind of like pull, not fading. It should be fading. I swear to God I faded. And it's moving this way a little bit. And I'm like, I don't know if I could swing it much better than that. Now I could, there's all kinds of things I could do. But I've done this test so many times. I go, do you know what, dude? I know the JumboMax guy is coming in. I'm just going to throw the XL in there because I know that's my best chance to keep my face
right
open.
there. Yeah.
And I just hit it for about 100 balls, and I started getting these fades with 6,400 RPMs of backspin every single time I hit it.
Yeah.
So for the last 2 weeks, I've just left it on there. I just put one on my wedge, and I've gotten to the point where I was warming up with a skinny grip the other day. And I was almost like, how was I almost asking myself, would I really play in this thing?
It's a little squirrely, yeah.
It just felt. But it used to feel so normal. But 2 weeks of holding this other one, I was kind of like, I can't believe I was ever holding this thing. I just feel my wedge play has gotten a lot better. I'm way less yippy around the greens. I'd love to get some numbers to back up what's actually happening. That's where my mind goes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Right. I want to know because that's how Chad's mind works. But the same time, physics doesn't care. It's like you're hitting good shots. They're coming out lower. They've got more spin on it. You're controlling your distance. Who cares?
I think it's as simple as it's less face rotation at a slower rate. The radius of the face is not going to open and close as much. The larger the diameter of the grip, the less the face is going to open and close. And it's going to do it at a slower rate.
One of the things that I've noticed, because I'm doing the XL, I feel like my propensity to have as strong of a grip has been reduced. Almost like my left hand is more this way on the
A little
grip.
more neutral.
Just because it's so big, I'm just noticing my hand sits more neutral.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter why it happens. It just matters that something is changing a variable and it's happening.
Because we're golf geeks, we want to know exactly why this is happening. All right, come on. We got to go grab the data. We got to look at this stuff and dissect it and figure out why.
In our line of work, that makes sense, but I think for the player, I don't think they all need to go down that.
We just want people to play their best golf. You know what? And if you play a bigger diameter grip, it's going to slow the club face rotation and the radius is going to be less. And you're going to have a lot more control of the club face.
Absolutely.
Not only that, you're going to be using your bigger muscles. Where the grip sits, there's a bone called the physiform. It's right on your pad of your hand. It connects to your ulnar. So there's no loss of kinetic energy when you're holding the grip right there. If you hold the grip in your hand, you have no surface contact for the rest of your hand, for your palm. So you inevitably squeeze, and you try to hold that position, but then they tell you don't squeeze too hard. Then you start losing control of the club. So there's a lot of variables that go on with skinny grips, and by going to a bigger grip without even thinking, you're gonna make improvements.
And it's not like you guys don't make a skinny grip. You guys basically have serviced the whole landscape. I mean, you guys get fairly thin to where it feels somewhat normal.
No. We have a skinny grip.
Yeah.
We have standard
That's
size.
so sick.
The skinniest grip on the market, we have one of those. We just don't ever fit people because that's our baseline grip. So when I start a fitting out, that's the first grip people are going to hit. I want to see what their numbers are as is. Okay, this is what you're doing. You're going out there, you're playing with a skinny grip. Hit, 10 balls. Let's get 3 or 4 of them. Tell me when you've hit a good one, whatever. And then we're going to go to what the grip app has recommended. And 9 times out of 10, it's an immediate yes. So you see the improvement immediately. Now it's up to the fitter to dial in. Should they go a little bit smaller? Should they go a little bit bigger? Should we go a little bit heavier in the grip? So that's the next step. But you almost immediately identify that the standard grip is not the most optimal grip.
That makes sense. I mean, it's just, you can't go much smaller. It seems like it should be a standard grip. It's just...
It's barely bigger than the shaft.
No, I know. So like an undersized grip seems to be only minusculely smaller. So it's like they've already pigeonholed themselves to super small. Now, again, I'm sure there's some people out there that are going to benefit through a unbiased test that a thinner grip wins. But what I've seen and what you've seen is you're saying it just seems to be a smaller majority than we ever thought.
We're doing a lot of independent studies. We've done independent studies, and I've done a lot of fittings.
You haven't seen a lot of it.
I've never seen it.
Okay, so there you guys have it. So he's looking through, he's been studying grips for the last how long?
Too long.
Yeah. So again, my test that we've created is a brush stroke over all of it. But this is where I like to invite people like him into the studio because he's literally been down the rabbit hole of only grips for the last 10 years. And he's come across things that have been way more informative than what we're looking through. So our goal is we are hoping to basically start to work more closely with JumboMax to put them into our process because we know that it's an integral part of the puzzle. And the more we can narrow that down before we start looking at the other variables, the better.
Well, you have the best system as far as for JumboMax fitting. Reason being is because it's random. There's no bias in it. It's a blacked out shaft. It's a head that has different bounce.
Yep.
It's got different lies. But nobody knows what they are. You're just putting the club in people's hand and letting them hit it. So, and they're all the same. I mean, there's really no variables there other than the grip in a lot of this.
So at the end of the day, guys, if you want to be a part of our mission, which is creating a standard in golf, there is no standard in golf equipment. And companies like TPT, companies like JumboMax, and companies like Foreward Golf, and companies like FlightScope are all looking for that same thing. Let's create a standard in golf. So if you guys want to be a part of that, I recommend 2 things. Go onto the JumboMax fitting app, sign up for the Foreward Golf remote fitting kit. This is where good golf lives, and we're going to create a standard. John, I want to thank you so much for coming in today.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
The stuff that we've learned, and I think the stuff that we can come up with in the future is just a very motivating reason to wake up in the morning.
I think it's just the beginning, Chad. This is exciting stuff, and it's been a pleasure to sit down with you and talk about it and go through your system.
100%. Well,
Very
thank you so
impressive.
much. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Look for JumboMax near you. We'll see you soon.